There we go. Awesome. And now I go back to sharing.
Yep.
Awesome. And here. Is that the right one? No, this one. Okay. Let me know how we're going.
All right, I'll let them in.
All right, thank you.
Chat soon. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, doing good.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're so welcome. Hi, Rebecca. Oh, she's listening.
Hey, Melissa. How are you?
Good, good. I've just deciding, should we wait a couple of minutes and then get started, or just get straight into it? What would you like? Are you on time? It might be just us, a nice little cozy room today. It's cool. How have you been?
Oh, I've been really well, thank you. A bit cold today, obviously. It's pretty miserable, but
yeah. It's a little bit. It is. Oh, cool. Well, I reckon we might get into it because otherwise we'll be running over time. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. So one thing I do know is that we all have 24 hours in the day, and I really want to thank you guys for coming and taking some time out in your 24 hours to be here. And so what we're going to talk about today is mental health for business owners during the pandemic. And you know, there's so many aspects of mental health that we could talk about, and today what we're going to focus on is fear, stress and overwhelm, and how that impacts us as a leader, and come up with some strategies to help us be a great leader. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about myself. So this is, I'm a mum first and foremost of 4 beautiful children, and this is my husband, my 17-year-old daughter, 14-year-old daughter, 8-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter. And this is my coach and mentor, Mary Jensen. And, you know, they say success leaves clues, and who you hang around will determine your results in life. And I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time around some great successful people who have taught me the strategies. And as I said, success leaves clues, and then I've picked up quite a lot of strategies along the way that have helped me achieve the things that I have throughout my life and business, and with my family. So over here is me getting out during the pandemic with my 2 beautiful children. I have, so that's my son and my daughter, and we were off for a ride to the post office. And so where did I begin? So when I was 20 years old, I became a massage therapist, and I had a great opportunity to start working with some sports teams. And one of those was a basketball club. And in the 3.5 years that I worked with them, 3 years of those we won the grand final. And that was by changing, that was through mindset, our nutrition, exercise, etc. And so what I did is then I was asked to come along and join a football club, and I was there for about 11 years. And in the first 2 years that I was there, we had 3 football teams and 3 netball teams in the grand final as well, because I applied the same strategies that we had that we did with the basketball to the football. And I had a little break for a while, had some children, I went back again, and this is me training. And you know, we're talking about fear today, and I want you to imagine what it was like running out onto a football team with some fast-paced boys, or running out to a player that's been knocked unconscious on the ground and not knowing what I was going to be faced with. So we were always thinking on our toes, and behind every successful team is a coach, mentor, and teams. And this is my team here. This was our, this is the doctor, my head trainer is a great friend of mine, and another great friend and trainer. And this is a physio and another sports trainer. So we were a fantastic team that year, really united, and that created, the success throughout the whole club. So then, being a mum has brought me, great joy, and so then down the track, I became a personal trainer. So this is me with my son climbing one of our local mountains, and I used to run as well. And then this is my mum. This is one of my most favourite photos. Bringing my mum. So mum got onto the health and fitness journey as well, and we were training with Lisa Curry-Kenny in 6 o'clock in the morning. And so it was a great time for me to be able to share that with my mum. On the bottom right, this is a great friend of mine, Julie Hoffman, who she did a challenge to raise money for Heart Kids, and it was a 24-hour burpee challenge. So she did burpees for 24 hours. She had to beat a record to win the Guinness World of to be in the Guinness World of Records, and there were certain things that we had to do. And the rest of us, so I was her massage therapist and mindset coach, but on the other side of things, I was also a participant. So we had to do half an hour of burpees as a team, me and my husband. I think we did about 500 in that half an hour. So it was pretty phenomenal, and we weren't allowed to stop. So this is me today, and I'll share a little bit about, how stress and overwhelm can affect your health as well. So this is me getting back out there, riding my daughter's bike actually, and then swimming with my daughters up at Jervis Bay, which was just a phenomenal relaxation time in Jervis Bay, and reconnecting as a family. So this is a bit of my journey of becoming a coach and speaker as well. So here I won the Bloggers Award with the Michelle Bridges program, and for my transformation and blogging my transformation, and doing what I love is coaching, and then speaking as well. So I've had a few opportunities to speak, and every time I'm growing and overcoming, different challenges and fears, and we just show up and we get on with what we've got to do. So that moves me to fear. And so what we do know is that fear is debilitating business more than COVID-19 right now. And so what do we know about fear? So we know that when we face fear, we're stuck in the reptilian part of our brain. And that's the part of the brain that is often referred to as the croc brain. And it's the part of the brain that's at the front of our face. And it's necessary to have this part of the brain to stop us walking in front of a truck or jumping off a cliff. And the challenging part of this brain is that anything that it doesn't know or recognize, it puts into the fear category. And we don't know how long we're going to be in lockdown for. We don't know, how long it'll be before we can do different activities. There's a lot of uncertainty and challenges around that. And, we're so used to planning our life and planning forward that at the moment, we can't do that. We have to live day to day. And so for business, this is more debilitating right now than the actual COVID virus. So, so what that does is it impacts our decision making. So as you can see here, it's all a little bit chaotic and crazy, and we can get quite stuck. And And what happens is we can't make any sort of long-term informed decisions because we have all this chaos and confusion going on in our brain and we're stuck in our fear. And one thing that you might notice is that your staff are asking you for directions for simple things that they're used to doing and doing them quite automatically. And that's because they're stuck in the fear brain and stuck in that chaos. And so what they can't make those rational decisions that they would normally be making day to day. And one of the fastest ways to come out of the fear brain, the right now brain, is box breathing. And so box breathing is a technique that is used to focus the mind. And so what I want you to do is, before we begin this, I'm going to take you through the process, is I want you to check in in your body and notice across your shoulders, in our back, are we tight in our chest? Are your hands clenched or relaxed right now? You know, we've had a lot of tightness in our bodies for about 6 weeks. It's been a constant stress and worry and stress that's going on. And so how you do it is that what you want to do is, on the inhale, you want to expand the belly, then the diaphragm, then the upper chest. And on the exhale, you want to let all the breath go from the upper chest, then the rib cage, then the belly. Don't get too caught up on the technique, just more about focusing on the breath. So, and as you release the belly, let that activate the inhale. So what this does, it helps you to relearn how to breathe calmly, deeply, and calm your nervous system. Another way to think of it is that the breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. So just take a little practice, and we're going to inhale and exhale solely through the nose. What this does, it stimulates the nerves that activate the parasympathetic nervous system and counters the fear response of the sympathetic nervous system. Oh, and what I'll do is I'll just change the slide, so that will help us. It'll give us a prompt. So the box breathing is a Navy SEAL method, and it reduces anxiety, and it's proven to reduce anxiety and stress. So let's give it a go. So we're going to inhale for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're going to hold the breath for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And repeat. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can slow this down, breathing in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale all the way out, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. So now check in with your body and feel the calmness flow through your body. We're all feeling better, we're feeling calmer, and it's a really quick way to move us out of fear at any time of the day. And it's one of those processes that you can do at work, you can do it at home, you can do it in the car, you can do it before a meeting, before a presentation. And so what that does is it calms the nervous system, and we can focus much more effectively. And then our decision making can be made from a place of calm instead of a place of chaos. And so, you know, we can also use it with people that we meet. If you know that they're quite stressful, and you can notice that change in their voice, and you notice that they're quite stressed, and teach them the box breathing method. It's quite a very effective way. So, what's next? So one way we can be a great leader is by effectively managing our emotions and who we are being and how we show up. So stuff might be going on behind the scenes, quite funny. I had some challenges this morning, but it's like you just work through them and you show up and you present. And that's with anything. So if you've got a phone call, an important meeting, you're about to ring a client, whatever it might be, you really want to put yourself in a great state so that you can show up and flick that switch and get yourself in a different state and be 100% present for your team with a clear mind, energetic, optimistic, and ready to communicate more effectively. And who you choose to be will dictate what you do then do that leads to the results that you want. And it's all in who you are being. Think of a time where you've achieved great results in your life and you've had a win. Think about who you were being in that moment. I know for me, when the pandemic began and remote learning began, it was quite chaotic at home. I had to learn to navigate the remote learning. I had to learn how to, I had to juggle so many new things, and I had to get my bookkeeping up to date. There was, to see if I was eligible for support, I hired a VA because I thought that would help me navigate this area, and I didn't have to worry about my social media, and actually added to my stress and my chaos. And so there were things to learn there as well. And I had questions to answer. I had a business property, so there was so much going on at that time. And then I had a deadline as well. So I had to think quickly on my feet about how I was going to show up for these things, because stress and overwhelm wasn't going to help me. And I was, already, I could see old patterns coming in where I was stressed, and so I had to stop and go, okay, so how can I reset this and how can I change? And so there are a couple of things that I did. I rang the teachers to ask if they could bring the schooling, either send it through the night before or the morning, earlier in the morning, so that I could get my head around it, so I could, before all the kids started. And then there was what was the other thing I did? Oh, and then that gave me 2 hours at the end of the day. So we had a plan to get our schoolwork done at a certain time, and then I could get my, my own work done as well. And, and the other thing that I did was turn off my phone. So I had messages coming through my phone while I was trying to teach the kids. And so I just turned my phone off, put it in my room, turned all my emails off, everything. And so I was solely focused on one task at a time. And that really helped me be a lot more effective, present with the kids. And then that way I was able to then focus on ringing back my clients, ringing up people that I needed to return calls for, send emails, all the things that I needed to do in my business that required me to have a clear mind to actually communicate more effectively. And then I felt like I could cope and be more present in each task that I was doing. So how do we avoid burnout? I remember when I was pregnant with my fourth child, and I was pregnant with my fourth child. I was running a PT business. I was running my PT business at that time. I was vice president of the netball club, and the president decided to leave because there was some conflict. And so as a default, I became president. So here I was trying to clean up the mess at the netball club, vice president, 32 weeks pregnant, going on a school holiday, a family holiday. Then I had my daughter, and I went back to personal training, and I was still coaching. I was coaching netball as well, and I was a dance mum. So I was a human doing machine. And as a result, what happened is, after I had my daughter, I had hypothyroidism. I was gaining weight. I didn't know what was going on with me. I was cranky. I was stressed. I was, shouting all the time. And then when I had the hypothyroidism, that was my wake-up call, because then I learnt that that was the cause of hypothyroidism was my stress. And so it took me 6 months to clear, and if I hadn't have changed my life, then I would have been on medication for the rest of my life. So it was a huge wake-up call to go, stop, it's time to reassess, and focus on your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. And so what happened, so as a result of changing that and putting in some of the strategies and methods that I'm sharing with you guys, is that I've now been able to open up a new business that is focused on wellness, that is about to help people overcome their own stress, burnout and depression, anxiety, and just focusing on that whole well-being mode. So I hope that's useful. And so, yeah, so on the flip side, I was able to and help people live a happy and more fulfilled life. So what we want to create is a home that is a place to escape to and not from. And so what do I mean by that? So being a great leader for our team while working from home. So one of the things is setting boundaries. I think I spoke about that a little bit, about setting, turning your phone off and being present to one thing. But if a phone call is really important and you're 10 minutes on the phone, let people in your home know, or like for me, it's my children. So I will say to them, look, I've got a phone call I've got to make. It's going to take about 10 minutes, and then I have to stick to that 10 minutes. So if I'm on the phone to somebody and I've said to the kids I'll be back in 10 minutes, then 10 minutes is my time, and I may have to reschedule the phone call or whatever it is, but I need to show up and stick to that 10 minutes, otherwise they lose trust. And so we're also teaching our kids that they matter. So if you present with your family, if you're present with your family and you get a work call, and then you need to tell them that you'll call them back in 5 minutes, or set a more suitable time. And so another way to be a great leader is to listen more and talk less. Nothing is more important than our relationship with ourselves and our clients and others. And so we want to really nurture those relationships. And the deepest need, actually it was the late Dr. Stephen Covey, who said, the deepest need of the human heart is to feel understood. And we want to be that person for our team member and your family. And it's the most important thing you can do right now, and it can pay off in dividends for the future. So at the start of the pandemic, one of the things that I did is we had school holidays before school was shut down. So I had to close my massage business as part of the COVID-19, and so that pushed me into using those hours for my for my coaching, which was great, because then I was able to ring all my clients and support them over the phone. And one of those clients owns a restaurant up in Queensland, and I checked in with her and I just said, hey, how you doing? And she was like, oh my God, she was in total stress and overwhelm and chaos. And I said to her, just breathe for starters. And then the other thing that happened was I was able to give her some strategies to think outside the box. What can you do? What can you control? What can't you do? So she knew she had to shut her restaurant down, but then she had to think about how she could keep it going. Now, she's very lucky. She doesn't have, well, I don't know about lucky, but she is in a fortunate situation where she doesn't have to homeschool her children. And so therefore she could just solely work on her business. And so as a result, she has been thriving and running her business this whole time. She turned to takeaway. The community was great. She set up a front window, and so that people could come to the front window and get their takeaway, like a like a kiosk and a canteen. And from that, she then had businesses. She found out that there were some people who weren't being taken care of. They couldn't get out of their homes, And so businesses actually donated money to her for her to do 7 days of meals. And so this has been something that has kept her business thriving throughout all of this. You know, and she was becoming quite stressed and overwhelmed, not stressed and overwhelmed, what's the word? Starting to burn out. So she took some time out from her business and took 3 days off to recoup and recover. Now she's now into that plan of, now they're able to reopen, because Queensland's different to Victoria, but they're now allowed to reopen their business. So what I guess where I'm saying with that, like, she has stepped up and become that great leader, and you know, she had her staff behind her, yeah, so she was able to navigate through this time. So I may have diverted there, but I hope that was useful. So what's next? So how do we cope? Oh, so one of the things that we do want to do is to savor the moments throughout the day. You know, when life is chaos and we can't see, you know, as they say, the forest for the trees. Don't dwell on the past. Don't dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. My great mentor and friend of mine, Nam Baldwin, who's peak performance coach for Mick Fanning, he says, stand in the shoes that you're wearing today, because they're the only shoes you can stand in. And it's just a beautiful grounding saying that really puts you, that, you know, we can't decide what's going to happen tomorrow. We can't change the future. All we can do is stand in the shoes that we're in right now, or feet if you don't have shoes on. And so what can we do? So how do we break this stress, overwhelm and burnout cycle? So first and foremost, well, I guess which way could we start? We could start with gratitude. I think gratitude is the foundation of living well and feeling happy. And my fantastic mentor, she was teaching me gratitude, and I would say, I'm doing it. I'm doing my gratitude. And she goes, no, you're not. And I'm like, I am. You know, I'm grateful throughout the day. And what I found is, once I took it seriously, and I was laying in bed, and this is the moment that I knew that I was actually doing gratitude properly. And I mean, gratitude is a feeling. It's a physiological change in your body that creates a great feeling. And I was laying in bed, and I used to hear the kids, you know, they get up a little bit earlier or something, and they'd be arguing, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed right now, because, you know, there's so much negativity out there. And what I didn't realize, that negativity was in my head. And so I'm laying there, and I'm trying to block out that, and I put meditation on, and trying to force the gratitude into my brain, and the happiness, and the neurological change. But what I realized is that once I learned how to do gratitude properly and actually feel gratitude and have that physiological change, was I was laying in bed, and so my mentor does this whole thing, and I took up the whole bed. I thought, I'm just going to, you know, model excellence here. And I took up the whole bed, and I thought, oh, this is fantastic. And I could hear my kids complaining and whinging and, you know, arguing over something in the lounge room. And I'm like, oh, isn't that amazing? You know, I get to have my kids here, and you know, they're alive and they're healthy and they're happy. They weren't in that moment, but they are happy and quite active. And so I had that whole neurological change that just really put me into that gratitude. And so I'd love you don't have to share in the comments or anything, but if you can just on a piece of paper or something, I'd love you to write down 3 things that you feel gratitude for, and then and that really creates a neurological change or physiological change in your body, because our physiology creates our psychology. So that brings me to sleep and the importance of sleep. So, you know, that, as I said, success leaves clues, and a lot of many highly successful CEOs and business owners, as well as athletes and the peak performance athletes. So these are a lot of the things that I worked on with my clients as well. So back in the football days and the basketball days, we created so these things are sleep, nutrition, exercise, and meditation. Meditation was probably a little bit woo-woo for them right back then. But what I did start to implement was things like either do a yoga or a Pilates at least 1 day a week. And so that was part of their regime. But one of the top things is having enough sleep. And actually, oh, will I share? Yeah, anyway, so having enough sleep. So we perform much better if we've had a great night's sleep. So I'll share a story about a client. So I had a client who worked 7 days a week. He worked 12 hours, 36 hours on a weekend, and 4 days a week in his business as he was growing his business. Now, he worked night shift, so he was a duty manager, and he worked for 12 hours, as I said, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. And as a result, he did that for 12 years. So psychologically, he was depressed, he was anxious, he was suicidal, and he was worn out, he was burnt out, but for a very long period of time. And as a result, he was making mistakes in his business. He was making mistakes financially. His communication was, terrible with his family. It was creating conflict both at work and at home. And so whereas now he has left the, let me check if there was something else. And so now what he does is he works full-time in his gardening and maintenance business, and he's left his weekend work. And as a result, he is now thinking better, he's communicating better, his anxiety and depression has ceased. He has days every now and then, but that's usually just, and he knows then that he's becoming tired and needs a break. And so now he takes that break. So the difference is he was working, as I said, 36 hours on the weekend, then 4 days during the week. So they were probably 8 to 10 hour days. And then now he works 6 8-hour sessions, 8-hour days. So, and he'll take the day off when he needs it. So huge change around. So, as I said, he loves spending time with his family, and he's able to communicate more effectively and has started to have more fun in life. So you can see how important, and the other thing that was happening, so when he went to bed, so when he was working all those hours in the 7 days a week, what was happening, when he went to bed at night, his wife said his body would shake and jolt and would wake her up. And sometimes he couldn't get the words out, like it was a challenge for him to communicate. And he made a lot of costly mistakes in his business at work and financially. So by taking care of himself, coming off the night shift and spending more time taking care of himself, he's able to sleep much better. He also takes time out to breathe. He's learnt the box breathing as well, and he's not as hyperactive. So he couldn't sit still, whereas now he can take time to relax. He has a bath every night, and so you can see how important having enough sleep and regular sleep makes. So meditation. So meditation is one of those things that I found really tough in the beginning. My mind was so busy. I'd put the meditation on and I'm just like, relax, relax, relax. And I just could not relax. My mind was going 100 miles an hour. I could hear everything going on around me. I'd relax, and then I'd remember things that I needed to do, the people I needed to get back to, emails I needed to send. And so it was a real challenge for me. And so it wasn't until I was in Fiji last year I was lucky enough to go away on a business health retreat, and I every day we did exercise. So we either did yoga or a fitness session, and as a result, oh, I just swapped the slides. Tammy Ruse, her husband is Paul Ruse, and he is, he's from he was an AFL coach, and Tammy Ruse would run a meditation after the exercise sessions. And so everyone had their towels out on the lawn, and I found it difficult to sit on the lawn, and Paul Ruse come over and grabs a chair and sits on a chair, and I'm like, oh, such a great idea. So here I am sitting in Fiji next to Paul Ruse, listening to Tammy's meditation. And then what I did is I started to relax and listen to Tammy, but I could hear the workers were starting their day. So there was gardening going on. They were setting up for breakfast. All those things were happening around me, but I was so present with Tammy's meditation. Her voice was so gentle and relaxing, and I actually stopped noticing those other noises and started to hear the ocean. I started to hear the wind in the trees and the breeze, and really, I was really in the moment. And from having that experience, that helps me, that it doesn't matter what meditation that I'm listening to, that I remember that state and that physiological change in my body. So it has created a great experience. And so I'm able to focus and control my mind much better. So there's some great meditation teachers out there, or coaches, as you would say. So then that leads me to nutrition and exercise. I'll just touch briefly on that. I should check the time here. We're doing great. So nutrition and exercise, they're absolutely key. They were definitely one of the top two things that I did change with the footballers, because they were more socially acceptable. So with their exercise, I mean, they were already training twice a week, whereas what I did is I got them to stretch, and they had to do, I actually wrote stretching programs for them to follow. And the other thing was to add in a Pilates or a yoga. And I know for me that when I exercise, that I feel great. I feel like my body feels, more agile, and I'm able to move and do things that I can't do if I'm not exercising for a long period of time. And nutrition, it's the key. We need that nutrition to keep our cells, nutrients to our body and our cells, and so that we can be healthy. And it's like if you put, if your car doesn't have fuel, it won't go far. And that's the same with our nutrition. And a great example of that is my client's daughter. She wasn't taking care of her nutrition, and so as a result, she was iron deficient and so many other things. And so they had to turn her nutrition around, and that helped her, function much better. And actually, I was working with one of the football teams the year that we won the grand final in that last year in 2010. And the football players, I was watching them and I spoke to them. They travelled an hour to the game, and they were talking about what they'd had for lunch. And some of them had just had meat pies and hadn't had breakfast, travelled the hour, had a meat pie for lunch, had a 2 o'clock game, and by half time they were burnt out. So they were doing really well, and nearly winning the game. And then from half time to the end of the game, they'd lose. And so their energy would drop. You'd watch them on the field. And so I went and spoke to one of the managers, and I said to them, I'd done a 7 sessions boot camp that year. And I said, I would never have been able to get through that 7 sessions if my nutrition hadn't been spot on. And so as a result, my husband and I actually went and cooked for the football team, and started to teach them to have some better nutrition for them to perform better. So gratitude. So we want to be thankful for what we have right now, and you'll end up having more. And if you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never ever have enough. And that's by the beautiful Oprah Winfrey. And yeah, so happiness is not something you postpone for the future. It's something you design for the present. And I hope that was, yeah, and that's it from me. So happy to answer any questions if you want to put them in the, in the chat box, if I can find it. Or if you want to come off mute. Natalie, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was really curious to hear about how long it typically takes people to recover from burnout, because I do think that there's a quote about this. It kind of happens slowly and then it happens quite quickly. And I think people have a little bit of burnout, and I would suspect that getting out of something like that is a little bit quicker and easier than somebody who's really gone past that point and is in full-blown burnout. So I guess my question is, does it take somebody, like in your example of that gentleman who was overworking, does it take that kind of an adjustment? Like, I think there's this sort of misconception that you can pull yourself out of burnout by just changing your perspective. But I do think it seems like you need to make those life changes, whether it's a job that is not a great job to be in, or maybe you're doing multiple things. Like, is that the change that needs to happen before you can really make strides in your recovery?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that I'm not sure, I'll double check if I need to send it to you or if it's coming through to you from the Shire. But what we do is we look at our whole life, and that's exactly what you said. It's not just one thing. You can't just flick a switch and you're out of it. It has to be, the first step is awareness. So actually acknowledging that you do have that burnout and that it's happening. And then having the courage to take the steps, like leaving a job that you've been in forever, and that comes from survival and fear as well. So if we can get them out of that fear, that we can move them to start setting some goals, like how do you want, so looking at not what you don't want. So sometimes we focus on what we don't want rather than what we do want. And so somebody who's stuck in that burnout and overwhelm, they might think that this is the only way, or they might be providing for their family and it's their security, because that client there had lost 2 jobs prior to that one that he stayed in for 12 years. And even though it meant essentially being disconnected from everybody, his family, not spending time with anyone, not going to family events, like literally in isolation.
Can I just interject here just to clarify something? When you said disconnect, was this just from not having time, or was this a purposeful isolation and disconnection?
Yeah, from
like just pushing people away and not wanting to engage.
Yeah, not having the time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because he was so busy. And so it's different for everybody. It's going to be different for everybody. So it would be looking at your whole life and creating some balance. I don't like to use the word balance because it's never a balance. It's kind of a push and a pull from one to the other. But we need to take a look. So for me, I know I started to recognize when I was getting into that state. So when I knew my life was starting to get busy, I had to look at everything and go, what do I need to take out of my life that's really not important right now or not serving me? Like I was in a voluntary job running to a business and a family, and the voluntary job was taking up too much time. So I knew I needed to step back from that to be able to focus on those other 2 to prevent that burnout from happening again. And so that's another example. The other one is to in the thing that I'm sending out, there's some questions there that can start to do some internal work and start to look at how I want my life to be, how it is right now, what do I want to change. If I do want to get out of that job that isn't serving me, that's that I'm working 12 hours a day in, then what is it that I do want to do and how can I get there?
Yeah, that makes sense. And usually, like, if somebody's working through something like this, you said it took that gentleman like 6 months before he started feeling better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's after, after he made the change in the lifestyle and quitting his job, or was that like 6 months in general, like a total?
Look, I think it's still a work in progress because, there's times where he'll say yes to things that he needs to say no to. But that's just something that he needs to work through, and but he has awareness of it now. So I don't think there's any magic number. I think it's, I guess if somebody changes their lifestyle, I don't know, probably a good 12 months maybe. Yeah, it's different for everybody. I really do think it's different and circumstantial.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Was that helpful? Yeah.
Yeah, it sure was. I think one of the things that is kind of confusing is when you've never seen it or experienced it before. And sometimes in yourself, I guess you have that, like, I'm really tired. It comes out as I'm tired. I'm feeling exhausted. Nah, I can't be bothered doing that. I don't know what to say to this message. I'm not going to respond to it just now. I'll circle back when I've got the mind for it. It's like that depletion of the mental tank. But then I think that further exacerbates the situation because you're not filling your happy tank. So the balance shifts so much quicker to that imbalance of, the work-life balance we're talking about. So if you are overworked and you're never filling that happy tank, you're never giving your brain a break from working, it just shifts so much quicker, I feel, anyway, for me.
Oh, absolutely. And, actually I missed out. I was, is setting boundaries was with everybody around you. If you look at the people that are taking up your time that you're saying yes to all the time, and sometimes you have to say no, or say yes to you is a better way to put it, and put yourself first. And
Yeah.
when we start to put ourselves first, because there's times where, like I said, I had to turn, actually what I did do is I deleted Facebook and Messenger because I had, Messenger kept popping up, and I just thought I really need to focus right now. And what that was doing was getting in the way of me focusing, and it was creating a bit of stress. So I'm just like, you know what, that really doesn't need to be dealt with right now. I'm going to put it aside, and when I've got the time and the mental capacity to deal with that, then I'll deal with that. And if that means that person has to wait, that person has to wait. It wasn't an emergency or anything like that, but they were, just quite anxious. And sometimes you'll get anxious people that are quite demanding. And so sometimes you just have to put put the boundaries there, and you're starting to teach people to do that as well, to teach them how to treat you. So
Yeah, that's understandable. Are we going to get a link to the recording of this session? Because it was really good. I'd like to watch it again when I have time.
yeah, absolutely. They're actually going to put it, I'm sending it through to the Shire, and they'll put it up on the website as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I'll make sure Rebecca, if let me see, I think, yeah, I'll make sure Rebecca sends through the freebie for you that I've got.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for tuning in. It's
Thanks.
good to have you. Appreciate it. All right. And feel free, if you need, if you've got any further questions, feel free to get in contact as well.
Sounds good. It would be nice to connect on LinkedIn or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll write your name down.
Yeah, there's only going to be one of me.
Yeah, that's good. I love your last name. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
What nationality, do you mind me asking?
That's Greek.
Greek, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the best last names.
If they can be pronounced, yeah, sure.
Is it? Yeah, well, you might need to pronounce it actually.
Athanasiadis.
Athanasiadis. Love it.
Yeah, once you say it once, it's all good. It's all easy.
That's so cool. Oh, I appreciate it. Cool. All right. I think we're done. I don't think there's any other questions. So it's only you on the call at the moment. Rebecca had to leave early.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I had any other questions. That was kind of it.
Oh, cool. Cool. I'll just check. Is that the chat? No, there's no chat. Are you chatting 3? Oh, yep. Sorry, I didn't see you. I didn't know where to get the chat. So
It's okay. I ended up asking them again anyway, so it's fine. It's all
Yeah.
good.
You're welcome. Cool. So
Thanks, Melissa.
you're welcome, Natalie. Have a great
Enjoy
day.
the rest of your day. Bye.
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 I'll get you to stop the video.
Oh, thank you. All right. Up here. Sorry, don't know how to. I'll have to cut that bit off. Here.
If I can do it.
All right, I'll move you up.